Beat him in 7 games. And there it is. Rodney strikes out Chisenhall.
Alright, I know they're called the Cleveland Guardians now. However, back in 2013, the team we're focused on today, they had a different name. And I don't want to argue with any keyboard warriors, so we're just going to call them Cleveland. Anyway, from 2008 to 2012, Cleveland was not a good team. Not the team you see today. They had 3 seasons with under 70 wins. Yikes. However, in 2013, they somehow made the playoffs. And they would continue to have good records until 2016, where we know they gave us one of the World Series of all time. Also, side note, I actually moved in 2013. I actually remember the day I moved. I ate Chipotle and dinner, and I think I was like watching Cyber Chase while my parents moved all this stuff. But anyway, less about me and more about these 2013 Cleveland team. Who were the players of these 2013 Cleveland team, and how good were they? Well, let's get into it. So Cleveland wasn't really expected to make the playoffs. You had teams like the Angels, Mariners, Rangers, Rays, and of course the Tigers were the AL champs. But anyway, Cleveland made it, and getting into this team, we first have J.C. Kipnis, the offensive anchor of this team. He batted .284, had 17 home runs, 84 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, and an OPS of 818. He was pretty good, and he actually netted himself his first ever All-Star appearance. So yeah, again, he was pretty good, and he wasn't the only good player on this team. Next up, we have none other than Michael Brantley. Michael Brantley was, you remember him from Houston. However, a long time, okay, maybe not a long time ago, but for a while in his career, a lot of seasons in his career, he was on Cleveland. He was a key piece on that 2016 team. And 2013, he was batted .284, had 10 home runs, 73 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, and a 728 OPS plus. He was not as good as Kipnis, but was still pretty good nevertheless. Carlos Santana, who would switch between the catcher and the first base role. And fun fact, Carlos Santana is actually still playing. He just returned to Cleveland. He's just returned to Cleveland. He's been like a journeyman for the past few seasons, and the last time I was in Cleveland, I think it was like 2020 or something. I didn't check. I was more busy on the statistics. But anyway, Santana batted .252, had 20 dingers, 74 RBIs, and 832 OPS. Pretty good. Next, we have Nick Swisher. Alright, Nick Swisher was actually a big fan favorite in New York, where he hit .246, had 22 home runs, 63 RBIs, and a 763 OPS plus. So yeah, these guys were pretty good. This would actually be his last season of being a good player before he would have negative WAR and ultimately retire in Cleveland, I think due to injuries. Alright, next up we have Asdrubal Cabrera. Cabrera was an important piece on this team, though he only had 1.3 WAR. In 2013, he had .242 while hitting 14 home runs, 64 RBIs, at OPS of 700. He was a bit above average, though not as eye-popping as some of these players, and would go on to be a journeyman in the next 6 seasons. Alright, I said he is not as eye-popping as some of these players, but you know who was eye-popping? Yan Gomes. Yan Gomes he was very good in 2013. He had 213. He actually, you know what? He and Cabrera would be on the Nationals. I think they would actually win the World Series together. Anyway, Gomes hit .294, had 11 home runs, 38 RBIs, and an 826 OPS. Not the power hitter, however, he was someone who was very efficient, and he had really good defense too. Also, Jason Giambi was on this team, though he was like 45 years old. And Jose Ramirez was also on this team, but he was, I think he was a rookie and didn't have much impact. Now that we've touched on the offense, let's talk about the pitching. Cleveland which has now become known for its pitching, had some good pitching back in 2013. First, we have Justin Masterson. Justin Masterson is not really a name you'd think of when good pitching. He was the best pitcher on this team, WAR and win-wise. He went 14-10 with a 3.45 ERA, pitched 193 innings, and struck out 195. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. And the ERA and striking out tell it all. Not only was Justin Masterson an effective pitcher on this, as he would end up being the second and last All-Star in this team, which showed his prowess. But you also had Ubaldo Jimenez. Ubaldo Jimenez was also a pretty effective pitcher on this Cleveland team. He would go 13-9 with an even lower ERA of 3.30 and pitch 182 2/3 innings with 194 strikeouts. Man, that is a lot of strikeouts. Both Masterton and Jimenez combined for nearly 400 strikeouts. Next, we had Scott Kazmir. Scott Kazmir was a less effective pitcher. During this season, he would go 10-9 with a 4.04 ERA in 158 innings. He'd also strike out 162 batters. Man, this team was pretty good with strikeouts, but he was not fine. He was fine, but not great. Also, he attempted to come back in 2021 with San Francisco. I thought you guys wanted to know that. However, never mind. Forget what I just said. Alright, next up we have, now we're approaching familiar recent territory with the pitching side. This is Corey Kluber, a staple in Cleveland. He went 11-5 record. He have a 3.85 ERA, 147 and a third innings with 136 strikeouts. Corey Kluber, we know he would become one of the best pitchers of the 2010s with multiple All-Star appearances, and he would become a staple on that 2016 roster. Alright, another staple of Cleveland pitching, but this time on the bullpen, was Cody Allen. He was just beginning to hit his stride in 2013. Cody Allen in 2013, he would go 6-1 with a 2.43 ERA with 70 1/3 innings pitched and 88 strikeouts. Man, these guys were striking out players left and right. Yeah, this Cleveland team was pretty good with its pitching, if I have to say so myself, which I absolutely do. Alright, not only was Cody Allen good, there was also Joe Smith. I couldn't find much footage of him as 2013, not as a Halo. He goes 6-2 with a 2.29 ERA, 63 innings pitched, and 54 strikeouts. We also had to put Rich Hill. You remember Rich Hill? He was like a journeyman, though he was not as good. And there was also Carlos Carrasco, who played a minor role. And you had Trevor Bauer. The manager of this team was none other than Terry Francona, who in 2016 would nearly lead the Cleveland to a World Series title. Alright, we've talked about all the key players on this Cleveland team. And how did Cleveland go? They went 90-72 and would face the Rays in the AL wildcard after the Rays beat the Rangers in the AL tiebreaker. And yeah, it did not go as planned for Cleveland. The Rays would, in the third inning, would jump to a 1-0 lead. And then in the fourth inning, that would turn into a 3-0 lead. And eventually, in the ninth inning, Cleveland would end up giving up 4 runs. That was become a 4-0 lead. And that is the story of the 2013 Cleveland team. What did you think of this video? Did you like it? Be sure to like and subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the algorithm. And if you have other ideas for obscure playoff teams you want me to cover, be sure to comment them down below. Thank you for watching.